Is everyone able to hear me clearly?
Lass so gern la.
That's so. Okay, so I hope that today the voice is much clearer. So today we're going to have a revision class on everything that we have studied in grammar till this portion. And today's lesson will be about the different particles, introducing different particles, or I will be telling you about different particles that we have for different uh, usage cases and for different types of statement. And the other thing is that we will also be talking about the association, how the association happens. So there's no particular material for today. I will be writing everything as I will teach. We'll have a 15 minutes class, and then after that we'll have a question answer session in which you can ask me questions regarding the entire thing that we have studied till now. We will have a test or an exam soon on whatever we have studied till this point. So Kyarchong means revision, to relearn, to revisit, to study again. Revision. Tsikche is the connective particle, so we know that all the particles that we're talking in this particular course is the connective particles, and then association with name, so how they're associated with particular type of name. So before we begin, this is a verse by Kong Tangba. Kong Tangba being Kong Tang is actually is a title for one of, so Kong Tang is a title in the lineage of Gelug. It is referred to one of the highest lamas in Tibet, and this particular verse is from the 11 excellent advice by Kong Tangpa. And this Kong Tangpa is the third in his lineage, so third Kong Tangpa, Kunjo Tempe Drume. And this is from Kong Tang Lapcha, a very famous text in Tibet. Many of the schools, they teach this. Particularly, it is similar to Psychelikshe, the one that we are learning in the reading class. So it's about the it's about the advice, it's about the understanding of the ways to live a life, be it a worldly life, a life in a world, a life as a layperson in a worldly life, or as a practitioner in the wilderness or in the monastery. So this talks about that particular understanding, that it may or may not be specifically. It doesn't matter if it's either for the people who are practicing or people who are living a worldly life. Both of them should be bounded by certain type of rules. They should follow certain type of habits in order to live a fulfilled, a satisfied life. And therefore, there are these particular advices that are provided. And one of these advices, as you know, is Psychelikshe by Sakya Pandita. Another one, which I also recommend, if you actually understand, I think this definitely has translation in English. It's called Acharya Niti. It's called Chanakya Niti. It's from one of the great scholars of India, Acharya Chanakya, during the time of the Mauryan dynasty. So Chanakya Niti is a very wonderful text in which he also speaks about those rules and how one should follow them. And then if you're more into poetry, then there is Kabir Das, who have couplets, meaning that he writes in two lines, so couplets, in which he tells about different ways of understanding and living a fulfilled life, be it wholly or be it in practice. So, and then there are many different texts which you can check. So, and one of this is Kongdang Lapcha, the advice by Kongdang Pa, and this is one of his. So there are many versions of that, and one of this is the 11 excellent advice by Kongdang Pa, and out of this is one of the advice. So so let me first recite this verse. This is written by Kongdang Kunjo Tembek Dreme, the third Kongdang Pa. Yuande Tangbur Lapkala, Sheshin Mena, Nyambala, Chuti Sabe, Kenkayang, Hona Chikja Nitutse. Yuande Tangbur Lapkala, Sheshin Mena, Nyambala, Chuti Sabe, Kenkayang, Hona Chikja Nitutse. So in this verse, so the translation is to first study anything, to first learn something or to study something, it's very difficult when we learn something for the first time. It's very difficult because we are not used to the way of this particular discipline. So therefore, it is a very difficult task to study it first. But sheshin means if you don't put effort in revising it, if you don't recalling them, to study it in more depth, to study it again and again, to recall this particular study to yourself, to remind yourself of this particular study. If you don't do that, then it is very easy. La means easy. Nyam means to forget, to decline. So particular talent or particular it may be something that is to do with a physical quality, meaning physical knowledge like carpentry, painting. It could be something that has to do with drama, doing opera, singing, dancing, or writing poetry, or any other form. For example, studying something like a text. If you don't continue recalling it again, if you're not consistent with learning it, it is very easy to forget. So this is the meaning. When you first learn something, it's difficult, but if you don't keep the consistency in learning this, it becomes very easy to forget, to decline. If you fill a pot with each single drop of water, it's very difficult for the pot to fill to the brim. But if you topple, if you just hit the pot and it topples and it falls, then for the entire water, for the entire volume of the water that is in the pot, it is very easy for it to flow out. So the example of studying is given as collecting water in a pot, one drop at a time. And then the water flowing out when it topples is given as an example if one does not have consistency. If one does not have consistency, then it's very easy for them to forget it, for it to decline. So, when first someone studies, someone learns something, it is very difficult when they've studied something for the first time. If you don't have the resilience, if you don't have the consistency, then it's very easy to forget or decline. It is very difficult for a pot to be filled with droplets of water at a time. But once when it's toppled, once it's been toppled, it's very easy for the water to flow outside. So this is a verse which is written by Kongdang Pa Kunja Tembekin Trime, the third Kongdang Pa, who lived in the late 17th century. till the mid of the 18th century. So very profound scholar who has written many treatises. Very famous for his, for example, Sakya Pandita was very famous for his excellent speech, Sakya Lekshe. He was famous for his excellent advice, Kongdang Lapcha. Very famous. Okay, so now with this, let us begin. Or yes, we'll keep that for the end. So now we begin our class, and I will be writing now. So I will be writing as I teach. So this is something that we'll do. So the first thing that we studied was the first grammatical case and so this is the first thing that we studied. So the first grammatical case and recompound particles. So first grammatical case and recompound particles. So what do we understand by the first grammatical case and recompound particles? Okay, so the first grammatical case is a grammatical case in which what we do is that we individualize. So what we mean by individualize, it means that the particular name or the word is capable of standing alone in a way that it need not be associated with another, meaning that it need not be associated. Its meaning is not made apparent when it is associated with another name or word. So first grammatical case only tells us that a particular word has a meaning by itself and that the meaning need not be dependent on any other word to be established as a meaning. So what do we mean by that? We mean, for example, we have the names such as ki. Chila, which is a cat. And then we have Dorje being quite famous in our class. So Dorje, and we have Tsiring. And then let's see, Drama, Ri, Chu. And then we have Chu. So these are all words or terms, and we see that these particular words are capable of showing a meaning by themselves, meaning that they do not have to be associated with another name in order to show a name by itself. And all of these, if we observe it carefully, we understand that all of these are naming words, meaning that these are names that represents an object, and these function as a name to those objects. So ki, which means dog, Chila means cat, Dorje, a name of a person. So this is a proper noun. Tsiring, which is a name of a person, a proper noun. Drama, a proper noun, person's name. Ri, which means mountain, it's a common noun. Chu, water, common noun, and Shu, which means dharma or phenomenon, common noun. So we understand that these are name. These are name that represents something. So therefore, we understand that in this particular context, each of these are capable of showing a meaning or is capable of standing alone to show a meaning. And this is what the first grammatical case is. First grammatical case deals with names or naming words. And it also deals with words. Now we must also understand that under the words, we have two types of words. So these are all name, and then we have two types of name as we have discussed. But this particular concept will be discussed in the next class of the revision, which is all about the usage case. So in this class, we're not going to talk about the usage case at all. We're only going to talk about particular grammatical case and the particle and their association. So now the recompound particles, there are 11 recompound particles, which are ko, ngo, to, no, o, mo, o, ro, lo, so, to. These 11 are known as recompound particles. Why are they called recompound particles? Because when this is stated at the end of a statement, it means that from this point, there is no statement that will follow this as a continuation. Definitely, you can state something, but we must understand that whatever is being stated after this is a different. It's in a different context. It has nothing to do with the statement that is stated prior to this. So, for example, we have 그 공기 체나 뜻이 슬기유 도 뜻이 Serro. So Serro, which means his name is Tashi. Now we know that in the context of this particular statement, everything that is being said before this is in a field of its own, meaning that it's in a context by itself. That is the meaning that needs to be shown till this point is shown here, that there is no extra meaning. There is no meaning that comes after this that is related to this, that is a continuation of this. So everything that needs to be said is said when we have written this particular particle. And so recompound particle functions in order to state an ending of a statement. So the ending could be anything. It could be since it's a statement, it could be a phrase, it could be an entire statement, it could be a couple of statements as a paragraph, it could be an entire writing. So it could be any of those things. Now, the association of recompound particles is it's the particular the verse from the Tree of Excellence speech says 超越堕堂 and the rest are written in accordance to the suffix letter, meaning ka, ko, nga, ngo, ha, ho, na, no, ma, mo, ha, ho, ra, ro, sa, so. And la, lo. So we understand that tagu means the post-suffix letter. So it means that tagu means post-suffix letter. So what is a post-suffix letter? It is a letter that comes after the suffix letter, and not only any post-suffix letter, but post-suffix letter ta is followed by to. So whenever we have a name which has the post-suffix letter ta, be it a naming word, be it a word, it will be action word, it will be followed by to. So we have, for example, chin to, parallel to, good to. So we see that in this particular context, that the suffix letter, post-suffix letter, is in a way that there is only ta. We are only discussing ta, and it has nothing to do with the post-suffix letter sa, because we must understand that post-suffix letter sa will function similar to the suffix letter sa, meaning that if there is post-suffix letter sa, it will be followed by so. This is not directly stated in the text, but it is something that's more inferential. So for post-suffix letter ta, we will be using to. For letter without, for name without any suffix letter, it will be followed by ho. And the rule about ho is that whenever you write the understand that we don't use the punctuation tick, this particular punctuation that you may see here. This punctuation will not be used when we write ho. So, ngao or q. So you see that in these examples, you see how the usage is done. So it follows any word or any name that doesn't have any suffix letter, meaning that the very letter that we have is the very word that we have is something which only has a the foundational name. This, however, doesn't mean that it doesn't have a prefix letter. It could have, for example, ho. Ho means to dedicate. Ho. So. Go. So in this example, you see that the prefix letter is present, but there's no suffix, there's no post-suffix letter. So therefore, we understand that in these type of examples, we see that the only rule that pertains to this is that it's a word that doesn't have, it's a name or word that doesn't have any suffix letter, and that will be followed by ho. Now for the rest, for example, ka, if there is a name that has ka, yak, it will be followed by ko, yakko. Or if we have shing, which means palm, shingo. Then, for example, we have pa. For example, we have ieto. Then we have pa, for example, kapo. Then ma, we have nyammo. Then we have na, for example, henno. We have ha, gao or gaho. If you're going to write two, you can also write two if you want. The thing is that you can either write one or you can write two. If you're writing just one ha, then you don't need to use the you don't need to use this punctuation tick, but this punctuation. But if you're writing double ha, then two ha, then you need to use this punctuation gao. And then, for example, if you have ra, sarro, and then we have la, mello, and then we have sa, seso. So we see that in this example, we see that each of the Greek compound word, other than to, will also follow a name on the basis of the suffix letter. And that is the reason why these are called dependent particles, because they follow a name on the basis of suffix letter. So they follow the name on the basis of suffix letter. So we have for ka, suffix letter, we have ko, nga, ngo, pa, to, pa, po, ma, mo, na, no, ga, ho, ha, ho, ha, ho, ra, ro, ma, la, lo, and sa, so. So this is the association of recompound particles on the basis of suffix letter. Okay, so this is the recompound particles. Now we have the particles used in place of la. So for that, we will be talking about only the particles and the association. So there are 7 particles: su, ra, ru, tu, na, la, tu. These 7 particles are particles of particles used in place of la. Particles used in place of la. And one must understand that these particles are used in place of la for almost all the cases. So we must also emphasize on the understanding that it's almost, meaning that it's almost. So these 7 particles are used in place of la in almost all cases, except when la is a part of a name or of a name. So it could be a naming word or it could be a naming word, or it could be an action word or adjective. So for example, if you have word like Gelpo, here we see that la is part of the name Gelpo. So you cannot replace la with any of these. Then similarly, we have the word Loma, and we see that this la cannot be. And then we have the word la, which means hill, and you cannot substitute this with any of these other particles. Then lala, which means some. So these are examples in which la is a part of a name, and you cannot replace these with 7 of these particles. Now the association of these words, these particles is sasu, hapa, chaktar, tu, ngata, nama, rala, tu, hadung, hame, ratung, ru. So here we see that in this particular line, we understand that for the word name which has sa as a suffix, it will be followed by su. For a name which has suffix ka, pa, and post suffix ta, will be followed by tu. For names which have suffix nga, ta, na, ma, ra, la, will be followed by tu. And for names which have suffix ha or do not have any suffix, will be followed by ra and ru. And ra will be used without the punctuation, and ru will be used with the punctuation. So let me write this. Sa, su. And then ha, we have tu. And then for the suffix letter, nga, ha, na, ma, ra, la will be followed by tu. And then for suffix letter ha, it will be followed by ra and ru. Ra and ru. And then the other cases are post suffix letter ha will be followed by tu, and name without any suffix letter will be followed by ra and ru. So names without any suffix letter will be followed by ra and ru. So we see that this is the case. So for any letter with suffix sa will be followed by su. For example, ne suyu. I have barley, and sesu, born as the prince. Then, for example, we have for ka, for example, okay. It is impressed upon the consciousness. Yeah, to nyo, buying a yak. Then we have pa, for example, chap to chap to you. I have water. Then cup to draw, to go and hide. Then we have nga, nang to draw. Then tha, to, yep. And then we have na, he, to, che, to do something, to help. Then we have ra, char, to, up, rain is falling. Then we have la, hell to, it is expanding. And then we have for ha, ru, ro, or har, ro. Difference is either having the punctuation. If you have the punctuation, you write ru. If you don't have the punctuation, you write. If you don't want to write the punctuation, you simply write tar. Then letters with post-suffix letter ta. Harut to shin, to go beyond. Then letter without any suffix letter, meru, ro, mer, ro. So you see that in these cases, we see how each particle is associated with their particular names on the basis of suffix letter. So this is also a dependent particle because it follows a name on the basis of suffix letter. So this is the particles used in place of la. Now, relative particles. Ki, 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 ki. So these five are known as relative particles, which shows relation between any two phenomena. So relative particles, and these are also dependent particle, and these are used in order to show relation between any two particles. And so these five, and then the usage association based, and these are also associated with the name on the basis of suffix letter. So the association is nama, rala, ki, apa, sa, i, kanga, ki. So we understand that for these particles, if a word has suffix letter nama, rala, it will be followed by ki. If it has a suffix letter tabasa, will be followed by ki. If it has a suffix letter kanga, will be followed by ki. And if it has a suffix letter ha, or if it has no suffix letter at all, will be followed by yi and yi. The difference between these two being that this will be directly attached to a name without using the tick or the punctuation. This will be added or attached to a name with the tick or the punctuation. So We understand for the prefix, so the suffix letter. So suffix letter na, ma, ra, la will be followed by ki, and ha, pa, sa will be followed by ki, and ka, nga will be followed by ki, and suffix letter ha will be followed by i, and i, and then name without any suffix letter will be followed by ki and e. So e and. So we see that if a letter has a suffix letter nama, rala, it will be followed by ki or ch if you pronounce it in the Eastern Tibetan dialect. So, and then this will tabasa will be followed by ki, kanga by ki, ha by hi, or yi, depending on whether you have the tek, which is the punctuation. And then name without any suffix letter will be followed by hi or yi. So, for example, Shingi, to be blessed. Okay, Dapo, the owner of the house. Yarki, to the time of summer. Shilki, meadow. Shilki momo. That's Shilki. So Shilki meadow. Let us use this one for the other one. Shilki meadow means the flower made of glass. Then for tabasa we have neki men. The medicine for the sickness. Then we have pa, which is tepki, mean name of the book. She, ki, name of the song. So we see that if we have suffix letter pa, pasa, it will be followed by ki. And then ka. Yaki, ra. The horn of the yak. Shil, nang, ki, momo. So it's an idiom in Tibetan. Shil nang ki momo. It means the momo inside the glass, meaning that it's just a reflection of the momo, meaning that it doesn't matter how much you put effort in getting it, you will not get it because it's simply a reflection. It's not the reality. So shil nang ki momo. So this is used whenever someone is trying to put effort in doing something that particularly will not have any significant outcome, not because the effort is, not because they're putting less effort, it's because the scenario is such that something that they're trying to put effort into is not something that is capable of producing a particular outcome. So shienagi momo, meaning something that cannot happen at all. So we have nga, then mar, it became lower. So for example, which means the sea level became gyatso martro, meaning the sea level became low. Gyatso martro. So here we use directly ra, so we replace ha by ra, so we don't need the punctuation. And se sartro or se sartro, to go and eat food. So you see that in this case, since there is no suffix letter, it will be followed by ru or ra, but depending on the punctuation, it will either directly attach to sa or it will be written as a separate case. Okay, so this is the relative case. Now we have the subject case, but the only difference is the particles. The only difference is particles and the function of particles. The usage case is the same to this. So the usage case is the same. The subject case, the particular usage case is the the association with the name is same. So the rules are same for the subject case. So association with name is similar to that of the relative case. So it's same as the relative case. Now the ornamental and inclusive case. So the particles are yang, yang, and hang. So these three are particles of in du. So these are particles of in du. So these are particles of gendu, meaning the inclusive and relative case. So in this, there are three particles. These three particles are also dependent on the. These are also dependent on the suffix letter as you follow them. They are also dependent on the suffix letter. So the way they are dependent, so this is called the ornamental and so it is called the ornamental and inclusive particles. So these are three ornamental and inclusive particles, and they follow the suffix letter as following. So ka, ta, pa, sa, cha, tar, yang, ngana, mara, latar, yang, ha, tang, tame, hang, tang, yang. So it means that for the suffix letter, so for the suffix letter, ka, ta, pa, and sa, the particle we use is kyang. For suffix letter nga, na, ma, ra, la, we use yang. And for the suffix letter ha, we use hang or we use yang. And that will depend, this will totally depend on which particular particle that which rule that you're following. If you are writing it with the punctuation, you have to use yang. If you're writing it without the punctuation and replacing ha, you can write hang. And then we have the post suffix letter. Post suffix letter ha, which will be followed by yang, and we have name without any suffix letter, and this will be followed by hang or yang. And that will depend also entirely on whether you're using hung and yang, will depend on whether you're using the punctuation or not. So ya, yang, ya. Then we have me yang, yu. Then rub yang, rub. Then we have so this is T, yang, T. And then so for these we see that they have suffix letter tapasa, they have kata pasa, so these will be followed by kyang, ya kyang yang. It's good, very good. Me kyang yu, even though there is rab kyang rab, it is the most excellent out of excellent. Te kyang te, I'm hungry and very hungry, meaning I'm very hungry. Then nga. Tangyang, sang, 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 pen, pen, samyang, mitu, samyang mitu, ra, pariyang, sur, pelyang, pel, and ha yang, ring, ta yang, ha, tang, ta. Then chin, yang, malip, matu, chin yang matu, sang, maya. So these are examples. Samyang mitru. Even though one may think it doesn't happen, realize paryang tsur, there or here. Pelyang pel, it expands. Hayang ta, the most edge. Chint kyang matru, even though it was commanded to go, he didn't, or they didn't go. Sang makya, even though they ate, it didn't fill their stomach. So these are examples. So these are examples for the ornamental and inclusive particles. Then we have the continuative particles. So we have de, te. These are the continuative particle. There are three continuative particles. So these are known as lakche. Te are the three particles. Nara, lasa, shaktar, te. Te. Kama, kamaha, kame, sate. So this says, so it tells us that for the suffix letter, so for the suffix letter, na, ra, la, sa will be followed by Tibetan Grammar. And then ha will be followed by te. Suffix letter kanga, pama, ha will be followed by Tibetan Grammar. And then we have the post suffix letter. We have the post suffix letter ta which will be followed by te, and then we have word, we have name without any suffix letter, which will be followed by satata tatamute. So now let me provide some example. So chinte, he went and they went and they arrived. Good. They migur. It tried to change, but it didn't change. Also us and them. Melso. They rested after being full. Me. This is a dog, that is a person. So these are example for the continuative particle. Then after that, so the association will be based on this rule that tells us after which suffix letter each particle is being used, after which so in some cases, if there is post suffix letter, it will be followed by particular particle. If there is no suffix letter, it will be followed by this particular particle. So this is how the rule pertaining the association to the name is. And then we have the separating and inclusive case. And these are known as the separating or separating and inclusive case. So chedu. Che means to separate, tu means to, so these are used in order to separate classes or to combine them into one class. And the rules are similar to that of the recompound particles. So rule of association, association with name is similar to the recompound particles. So the rules are same as the recompound particles. These are the separating case. So the inclusive, separating and inclusive case. The usage case will be, we will talk about what do we mean by separating an inclusive case, inclusive particle case in the next class. And then now we have the ablative case, which has two particles. So these two particles are particles of ablative case. So we understand that these particles, though they are understood as the ablative particles, though these are understood to be dependent particles, they do not. They're not particularly dependent on the suffix letter, but the dependency is based on the usage case. So the association would be related to the usage case. So for the ablative case, both ne and le. So both ne and le can be is applicable for so both ne and le are applicable for ablative case, meaning the case in which we say something is originated from something else. Then we have ne for ne can be used for class and particular of same nature, and for separating case, so for separating case, ne is applicable for class and particular of same nature. Separating case, le is applicable. Le is applicable for class and particular of different nature. And the final one is for inclusive case. So for inclusive case, only ne is applicable. So ne is applicable. Ne is applicable. So for the case of inclusive case, only ne is applicable. For separating case, there are two types of separating case. Separating case in which class and particular are of same nature. Separating case in which the class and particular are of different nature. If they're of the same nature, ne. If they are of different nature, le. For ablative case, both ne and le is applicable. So this is the association with the, so instead of now understanding as association with the name, this should be understood as association with particular statement. So different nature of statement requires different type of particles. And now finally, we talk about the vocative case. So we talked about three. So ke, kai, and wai. So these are the three. These are known as Hydra. So these are the three cases. These are the three. These are the three particles of the vocative case. So these are vocative particles. And then the usage case will be discussed. The usage case will be discussed in the usage case. So here we're only going to introduce the vocative particles. Ke, kai, and wai are the vocative particles. And with this, we have already covered all the particles. We have covered all the particles here. So now, any questions? So now we'll go to the question answer session. So any questions regarding all these? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So these two are same. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 particles under the dependent particles. So now, before we go to the reading, so today, we have so today we have someone who is reciting the verse, right? So they can before they recite it, we can have a question answer session. So any question regarding these particles, I will take three questions. In which type of genre are these particles usually used in sutra, in medical commentaries or legal papers, or is there no particular? So it can, so the recompound particles are used in any type of statement. So there is no context in particular. It can be used in sutras. It could be used in any type of document if it requires it to be used. So no particular. Yes, I will put this in the, so this will be sent to the channel afterwards. It will be there. So both of them are inclusive particles. These particles have usage cases in which in some cases this inclusiveness has a different meaning. It means that it's an inclusiveness due to a particular particular quality. So Kyang Yang Hang, if we say Tashi Kyang Leptus, means if Tashi is someone, so let me take. So if we say Tashi is very famous in our class, it seems. We're only using him. Tashi. So if we say Tashi Kyang Leptu, in this particular statement, it is inclusive. It's inclusive because of a particular quality. So it means that everyone, so if Tashi was someone who usually would not attend something like a gathering, and if we say that Tashi Kyang Leptu, it means that even Tashi has come together, which means that everyone else, there's no need to say anything about them. So this is the inclusiveness. Whereas for the ne, we have 4 different type of inclusiveness. So we'll talk about it later more in the usage cases. So from between Tibet and India. So you see that inclusiveness in here is very different than the inclusiveness of the ornamental and inclusive case. Lasso. So one more questions. Do we have one more question? If we have one more question, we are going to take one more question. Do we have one more question? In case that there are many particles in the statement, which particles can, so if there are many particles in the in a statement, normally we tend to omit the relative particles in the most cases. If we have too many relative particles, we tend to omit them, meaning we tend to keep them. We tend to make a statement in which we don't have to use them, because relative particles are seemingly more in comparison to other particles. In many cases, they are correctly used grammatically, but grammatically there are cases where you need not use them also. So therefore you can do that. So relative particles, in many cases, relative particles. Lasso. So if anyone has any more questions, please ask them in the group. I'll answer it there. And okay, so so do we have anyone who is reciting the text today? The Tree of Excellent speech. Do we have someone who will be reciting it? Lasso, so Yurila, please recite the text today.
Lasso again,
Lasso.
Namatang Gompo, Jetsun Jampe Yang La Chat Zero, on Arapazanadi. Sumchupe Nimpo, Lekshe Jumpe Wampo, Shechawa Shuso. Namo Guru Manjugoshaya, Lama Chotan Yelmenpe, Jampirianda Kutune, Tumi Lekshi Sumchupe, Nimpo Dotuche Palcha, Yankee Jawa Selpo Ru, Jepa Iu Eoshi, Selje Kaso Sumchuin, Kagadana Bama. Raga sanam genjuchu, tada sani yanjute, tani na la suntan, sani kanga pamalto, kada bama angunju, kongo do nobo mo o, rolo soto la tute, zochik datu chekyancha, tayo to tantame o, shenam minte, jetunjal. Sura rutu naratu, ratu nampatu inte, name nishi dupatan, teni cekap namlajuk, sasu kapa taktautu, gata nama ralatu, atantame ratanru, kiki igapo, name dupa deltatan, tenam sata jengani. Name sumpa jetate, jorzu nama ralaki, tapasaki kangaki, atantame itai, kyanyang ansun gendute, kata pasa tatalkyang, gana mala latalyang, atantame antayang, te sun fakchete, Nala lasa tatalte, tate kanga pama a, tame nala sate to, kangang tamnang pamang ang, ramlam santam, jetu te, joltu lautu kaptan tsum, ralu yi ayan nang, kampa mi kongkong weke, ao amki kontu tsek, meta yopan teshin, nele jungun kaltute, jungun gola kanjaltu, liktungal ne mitunle, gula neda konajuk. Ketan kai tetate, peltsil minki tomarjo.
Lasso. Thank you very much for reciting the verse. Most wonderfully recited and very wonderful. So this is till the point that we have to memorize. So to everyone in the class, this is a reminder. This is the point till which we have to memorize the text. Okay, so most wonderfully done. So so if you have any assignment that needs to be checked, if you have any question, make sure that you either ask me directly or you send it in the group where I can answer them. And yes, so now before we end this, so I will be reciting. So the very verse is not here, but I will be reciting it, and it will be in the verse afterwards. So it's from Sakya. So we end with the Sakya here. So it's a verse from Sakya. So it states, "Keba lobe tunatu, dewa de la kemisi, dewa chung la chapate, chembe dewa tomisi." So this particular verse, it says that Keba lobe tunatu, meaning that at the time of learning, the scholar, when they are in the process of studying and learning, they face many different type of difficulties. If one only desires pleasure and leisure, they will never be able to become a scholar. If they want to have a slow and leisure life, they will never become a scholar. The one who is the one who desires, the one who is attached to only the very minute, the very small type of pleasures, those which are the most minute, those which are the most worldly type of pleasures, Chembedo Tomisi will never be able to attain the fruit of the great blissfulness. So therefore, this words will be included here. So make sure that you check them. Translations will be there. This PDF and the PowerPoint of this will be available in the channel as usual. So make sure that you check them. So Lasso and those who are joining me for the reading class, intermediate reading class, I'll see you tomorrow. So there will be class tomorrow, day after tomorrow. So we'll have 2 consecutive classes. So I'll see you tomorrow for the tomorrow's class. We'll see about the day after tomorrow after that. And those who have sent me the recordings, I will listen to them and send the feedbacks. Those who have sent me assignments, I have probably checked all of them. If not, may remind me and I will do so. So please memorize, revise, and recite. And tashitele to everyone. And I'll see you tomorrow, or I'll see you for the second grammar class. That will be the last grammar class of this session, this particular semester. That will be on the usage cases. So I'll see you on Friday. Those who are joining only for the reading class, I will see you on tomorrow. Those joining for both, I'll see you tomorrow. Lasso, tashitele, and thank you.